Picture the blistering, unforgiving heat of a late summer morning in Henderson, Nevada. Now compound that with the crushing, suffocating weight of NFL expectations. When a front office completely retools, bringing in a brand new offensive coordinator, signing an established veteran quarterback, and drafting a highly touted former #1 overall pick, the pressure cooker of a training camp is absolutely bound to whistle. But sometimes it doesn't just whistle. Sometimes it straight up explodes. This is NFL Nexus, and I'm your host for today's explainer. We aren't just skimming the daily headlines or reading off of a box score. We are going to dissect the very anatomy of a championship-caliber roster. We're breaking down how a single, unexpected moment of chaos at the Las Vegas Raiders 2026 training camp is actively forging one of the most resilient, battle-tested depth charts in the entire league. We're talking context, we're talking massive consequences, and we are talking about the balance of power in the NFL.
Okay, so here is our roadmap for today. 1. The training camp spark. 2. Mendoza's big opportunity. 3. Offensive reserves stepping up. And 4. Defensive investments paying off. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. The training camp spark, a dramatic catalyst for roster evaluation.
Listen, every great Super Bowl contending team needs a spark, a singular moment that takes complacency and throws it completely out the window. For the Las Vegas Raiders, that moment didn't come under the bright lights of a preseason game. No, it came in the form of some completely unexpected, fiery intensity on the sweltering practice field between two veteran leaders. To truly understand the stakes here, you have to look at the timeline. On Friday, the competitive tension simply boiled over. New veteran quarterback Kirk Cousins, a guy typically known for his incredibly methodical, calm demeanor, and the undisputed heart, soul, and absolute motor of the Raiders' defense, edge rusher Max Crosby, got into a physical scuffle. Now think about that. Both of these guys are fiercely competitive alphas. They are grinding daily to learn the nuances of new systems and integrate with new teammates. But the coaching staff, they didn't just let it slide with a warning. As a direct consequence, or quite honestly, perhaps as a brilliant, calculated strategic pivot, both Cousins and Crosby were held out of Saturday's practice entirely. This created a massive, glaring vacuum on the field just days before the preseason opener against the Arizona Cardinals. And the coaching staff immediately seized this opening. They used it to stress test the absolute limits of the rest of the roster.
Now, you would naturally think that missing your starting quarterback and your all-pro, game-wrecking edge rusher would completely derail a practice, right? I mean, that's the logical conclusion. But look at the actual outcome here. The exact opposite happened. The reports coming out of camp indicate that the absence of those two massive stars led to arguably the most productive and best overall practice the team has had during the entire training camp. Why does that happen? Because without the established veterans out there masking the team's underlying flaws with their pure talent, the raw depth of this franchise was forced to step up and operate the machinery entirely on its own. Were mistakes made? Absolutely. But the overall execution, the urgency, the sheer desperation of guys fighting for their NFL lives heavily validated General Manager John Spytek's roster construction. It proved the foundation is rock solid.
Moving on to Section 2. Mendoza's big opportunity, stepping up to the first-team reps.
The suspension of Kirk Cousins for that pivotal Saturday practice didn't just leave a hole. It officially handed the keys to the offense to a young man carrying the literal weight of the franchise on his shoulders. I'm talking about Fernando Mendoza. And suddenly, the biggest question on everyone's mind, from the coaching staff holding the clipboards, to the front office watching from the balcony, to the fans sweating in the bleachers, was whether Mendoza could handle the blistering, suffocating pressure of extended repetitions against the starting NFL defense. We're talking about a massive leap here. Going from playing against the 2s and 3s, where the game is a little slower, to staring down a first-team defense that is incredibly eager to make a violent statement, especially without Max Crosby out there taking up the spotlight. It's the absolute closest Mendoza has come to playing a real live regular season game as a professional so far. This wasn't just a practice. It was the ultimate litmus test of his mental and physical readiness. So exactly how did the kid respond to that kind of intense pressure? Well, listen to this fantastic piece of insight from Raiders quarterbacks coach Mike Sullivan. He noted that as the coaching staff deliberately dialed up the difficulty, and I mean really tried to make his life miserable by adding blaring crowd noise simulations and forcing complex silent counts, Mendoza adapted seamlessly. Sullivan explicitly stated he's not repeating mistakes. Now, if you know anything about the high-speed chess match that is the National Football League, you know that a quarterback who makes a mistake once is just a rookie learning the ropes. That's expected. But a quarterback who makes the same mistake twice, that guy is a liability. The fact that Mendoza is standing in the pocket, absorbing these incredibly complex, multi-layered pre-snap mechanics, and instantly correcting his errors on the fly is a monumental win for his long-term development. It shows his processor is elite. Let's really contextualize what Mendoza is dealing with here, because it's a lot. As a former #1 overall draft pick, the spotlight on him is blinding. There is zero room to hide. He is currently deep in the grueling mental gymnastics of adjusting to offensive coordinator Clint Kubiak's brand new scheme. And Kubiak's offense? It demands absolute pinpoint precise timing and incredibly rapid processing. You have to know where the ball is going before the snap even happens. The biggest hurdle, as Sullivan pointed out, is just adapting to that sheer professional game speed. The windows close in a fraction of a second. While Mendoza will undoubtedly start the 2026 season holding a clipboard on the sidelines, backing up Cousins, which frankly is a massive luxury in today's NFL, his processing ability during this crucial Saturday practice proves something incredibly vital. When he finally synchronizes that pro game speed with his natural throwing mechanics, the Raiders might just have struck absolute gold. He is the inevitable future starter, and this single high-pressure practice essentially proved he is fully on the right path to taking over this franchise.
Which brings us to Section 3, Offensive Reserves Stepping Up, building a resilient depth chart for the long season.
Anyone who really follows the league knows that a Super Bowl run is never, ever just about your starting 22. It's an absolute war of attrition. It's about the men waiting in the wings when disaster inevitably strikes. This table brilliantly illustrates the strategic, highly calculated layering of the Raiders' roster. General Manager John Spytek has meticulously crafted a safety net of reserves who might become absolutely vital starters before the 2026 campaign is even halfway over. Look at Charles Grant. He's a talented toolsy lineman from William & Mary entering his second year. Left tackle is the second most important position in football. If star left tackle Colton Miller goes down with an ankle tweak, Grant is the man immediately tasked with protecting the blind side of Cousins or Mendoza. That is a season-defining responsibility resting on a backup's shoulders. Then, you flip over to the defensive side of this depth discussion, and you have Cody Lindenberg. The Raiders are heavily reliant on Quay Walker and Nakobe Dean at linebacker. But let's be real. Dean has a heavily documented history of struggling to stay healthy dating back to his time with the Philadelphia Eagles. Lindenberg, who was essentially redshirted playing strictly on special teams last year, is now a crucial, foundational, rotational piece. He is literally just one snap away from becoming the central anchor of that entire linebacking core.
And I absolutely love this detail right here, because it showcases the incredible hidden value of versatility. Look at Trey Zune III, their third-round pick out of Texas A&M. In the NFL, offensive linemen drop like flies. It is a brutal, exhausting, violent war in the trenches every single Sunday. Furthermore, teams only dress a limited number of active players on game day, meaning you can't carry a backup for every single line position. Having a guy like Zune, who possesses the incredibly rare, almost unheard of versatility to competently play all 5 offensive line positions, left tackle, right guard, center, all of it, is essentially having a roster cheat code. He is a reliable spot starter who ensures that a single twisted ankle in the second quarter doesn't completely collapse the entire offensive front and get your quarterback killed.
Now, looking over at the skill positions, we see a fascinating, highly lucrative dynamic unfolding in the tight end room. Brock Bowers is an elite, true generational talent sitting securely at the top of the depth chart. But we have to remember, he missed significant time last season due to injury. He isn't invincible. Sitting right behind him, champing at the bit, is Michael Mayer. On almost any other team in the National Football League, Michael Mayer is a featured, every-down starter. He proved last year that he is an incredibly reliable, tough-as-nails security blanket over the middle of the field. But what makes this situation so incredibly compelling is that Mayer is entering a crucial contract year. He is arguably the most valuable #2 tight end in football right now. He is highly motivated, he's heavily financially incentivized to put production on tape, and he is fully ready to completely dominate the moment his number is called, whether that's in heavy 12 personnel packages or if Bowers misses time again.
Let's pivot to Section 4. Defensive investments paying off, anchoring the secondary for a championship run. While the national media and everyone else is heavily focused on Clint Kubiak's shiny new offense and the high-profile drama of the quarterback room, the Raiders' defense is flying completely under the radar heading into 2026, and the high ceiling of this unit brings us directly to this number, 26. Pro Football Focus just released their highly respected, rigorously graded cornerback rankings ahead of the season, and they officially ranked Eric Stokes as the 26th best cornerback in the entire NFL. Now, some fans might scoff at 26, but let's do the math. In a league with 32 teams, every team desperately needs a true #1 corner. Ranking 26 firmly, mathematically, establishes Eric Stokes as a high-end, legitimate starting caliber CB1.
So how exactly did he earn that top-tier, highly coveted spot? Stokes earned it by turning in a career-high 75.0 overall PFF grade last season. To put that grade into proper perspective, that phenomenal number ranked him second among all qualified Raiders defenders on the entire roster. He was sitting only behind the defensive face of the franchise himself, Max Crosby. And if you dig even deeper into the analytics, his coverage grade specifically was 17th among all qualified cornerbacks in the entire league. Playing corner in today's NFL with these freak athlete receivers and rules designed to benefit the passing game is arguably the hardest job in sports, and Stokes graded out in the top 20. But look at the sheer week-to-week consistency here on this slide. Despite the Raiders' defense lacking overall production and struggling heavily at times last year to get off the field, Stokes was a true, isolated island out on the perimeter. Playing on a high-stakes, one-year prove-it deal where every single blown coverage literally cost you millions of dollars, he did not allow more than 50 receiving yards in a single game all season long. Think about the receivers in the AFC West, and he held them to under 50 yards every single week. That is the literal textbook definition of a lockdown defender. He bet on himself, he embraced the pressure, and he completely erased half the football field doing it week in and week out.
And the Las Vegas front office rewarded that phenomenal consistency immediately. They didn't let him test the market. They handed Stokes a 3-year, $30 million contract extension. Now let's talk about the business of football for a second. In the current landscape of exploding NFL salary caps, where top-tier corners are demanding $20 to $25 million a year, paying your lockdown number one cornerback a flat $10 million a season is an absolute, undeniable masterstroke by John Spytek and this front office. It is an incredible value that doesn't even place Stokes in the team's top 10 highest-paid players. That specific deal leaves Las Vegas with the massive financial flexibility desperately needed to build out the rest of this deep, versatile roster we just spent the last 10 minutes talking about.
But to be fair, and to go deeper into the analysis, we have to look at the whole picture objectively. Stokes is the undisputed top corner. He provides high-level stability to a secondary that desperately needs an anchor, especially considering that the intense, ongoing competition for the number 2 cornerback position opposite him remains completely wide open. They need Stokes to be the sure thing while the young guys battle it out. However, if there is one critique, one major area for crucial growth in his game, it's his sheer ball production. Stokes hasn't recorded a single interception since his rookie season with the Green Bay Packers. Breaking up passes is great, but turnovers win championships. If he can finally turn those tight coverages and pass breakups into crucial, game-changing interceptions in 2026, he goes from being a great contract value to a legitimate, undeniable first-team All-Pro.
So we bring it all back to exactly where we started. From a fiery, intense Friday practice scuffle between veterans that ended up perfectly testing a rookie prodigy in Fernando Mendoza, to the strategic, brilliant stashing of versatile trench warriors like Trey Zunn, to the lockdown, team-friendly financial value of Eric Stokes out on the perimeter. It is all connected. It is the roster ripple effect. So I'll leave you with this final massive question. In a league with a 100% injury rate, where chaos is the only guarantee and attrition inevitably strikes every single franchise, is the Raiders' meticulously crafted, battle-tested depth chart the actual secret ingredient to a 2026 Super Bowl run? Thank you for watching this explained on NFL Nexus. If you want to keep understanding the game on this deeper, analytical level, make sure you hit that subscribe button, drop a like on the video, and comment your opinion down below on which backup player you think will actually make the biggest impact this season. And please, consider supporting the channel by becoming a member. We'll see you next time as we continue to break down the real stories of the NFL.